Good evening. I'm Kyle Regier. I am a social studies teacher at Halstead High School, and tonight I am here to present on religion in public schools. Our objective for tonight is to review relevant information regarding religion in public schools and to discuss current policies at USD 440 and review those in correlation with federal guidelines. So relevance. According to the Pew Research Center, about 4 in 10 public school students say they see other students praying before sporting events, and about 53% of U.S. teens say they often or sometimes see other students wearing jewelry or clothing with religious symbols. So while these are not necessarily issues, it opens the possibility that students might try to convince or indoctrinate other students, or that teachers might be put in that situation as well. And so it just shows us that this is a relevant issue and we need to be aware of it. This all starts with the First Amendment. The First Amendment has the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause, which state, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, which is the Establishment Clause. Congress cannot establish a single religion for the United States, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So Congress cannot prohibit the free exercise or the free practice of any religion either. For prayer in school, Engel versus Vitale is the big Supreme Court case that comes to mind, where there was a school-sponsored prayer in a public school, and the Supreme Court shot that down and said that violated the Establishment Clause. You also have, in a more modern case, Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, where Kennedy, a football coach at the school, would publicly pray at the 50-yard line before football games, and Bremerton School District believed that violated the Establishment Clause as well. And so that is now currently pending. The Supreme Court is pending that decision. It should be decided this summer. So it will be interesting to see what the Supreme Court decides on that, whether they go with Kennedy's free exercise or the Bremerton's establishment argument. Overall, according to the Pew Research Center, the Constitution prohibits public schools from indoctrinating or school sponsorship of religious activities. So the school cannot sponsor anything or try to push a religion on any student. Religion in the curriculum. So Stone versus Graham was a case in Kentucky where a school actually had, all schools in Kentucky had the 10 Commandments posted in the school. This was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court because it was a piece of indoctrinating and violated the Establishment Clause. Really, it all comes down to religion can be taught in schools, but it cannot be worshipped. And so what that means is you can have a discussion and you can break down religious texts and discuss their meaning and maybe the language, but you can't try to push that religion or talk about worshiping that religion with your students. That would get into the indoctrination piece. You also have evolution, where the state of Arkansas tried to get rid of all evolution discussions in their curriculum. That was shot down by the Supreme Court because it's believed that is a more natural way to view it, and the state of Arkansas wanted to push more religious views of creation. Also in Edwards versus Aguilar, you have the state of Louisiana, which tried to come up with a 1-to-1 curriculum in terms of they taught evolution as well as creationism. That was viewed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court because creationism is associated with the Christian religion and was thought of to violate the Establishment Clause in the Constitution. So for religion in the curriculum, it all comes down to, are you violating any individual's, any student's right to believe in any religion that they want? If you are pushing a religion or worshiping a specific religion, then that violates their right in the establishment of one religion. For holiday programs, this is a common, not necessarily issue, but this is something that happens a lot where you have Christmas programs and things like that. However, it is important to know that no student should be forced to sing or play music that offends their religious sensibilities. Therefore, schools must allow students the option not to participate, according to Pew Research in 2019. And that comes from the Supreme Court. And I think about all of the different, different times this happens. Not only Christmas programs, but a lot of times there's Thanksgiving. You have a Thanksgiving presentation. You might have Easter. And so it is important to remember, if a student does not feel comfortable, if a student does not believe in the religion that is associated with that holiday, they can actually opt out of that, and they should be given an alternative assignment. Student rights. According to the U.S. Department of Education, an LEA must certify in writing to its SEA that it has no policy that prevents or otherwise denies participation in constitutionally protected prayer in public schools. This states that students have the right to participate in prayer in public schools, and they can do so publicly. However, there are some limitations to that. Students have the right to engage in religious activities such as praying or blessing team meals. Students may also organize groups to pray or engage in religious activities. So students do have the right. They have the right to pray. They can bless meals. They can pray for their team, anything like that. However, they can't force that upon other people. Very similar to what teachers have to deal with. Teachers cannot force their religion or indoctrinate their religion on students. Students cannot indoctrinate or force their religion on other students. For parent rights, Pierce versus the Society of Sisters deals with that parents have the right to send their students to private schools whenever they want. If a parent wants to pull their student out and send them to a private school in order to give them what they believe is a better experience, they have the right to do so. More parent rights. West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett. In this case, students were allowed, and it was upheld, that Jehovah's Witnesses could refuse to salute the American flag. So in a more modern day analysis of this, you might have a student that doesn't want to stand for the national anthem, or they may not want to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and they have the constitutional right to do so, according to West Virginia versus Barnett. In Wisconsin v. Yoder, this is dealing with the old order Amish not wanting to send their kids to school past the age of 14. And in this case, again, the Supreme Court ruled with Yoder, with the old order Amish, because it was their religious right to pull their kids out and not have them subject to any of the New World issues that might come with them attending public schools. Many districts also have opt-out programs that parents can place their students into. If a parent does not agree with something that's being taught in a class, or in a certain assignment, then certain schools have opt-out programs where students can opt out of that class for the time period or for the semester and take an alternative class or assignment. Teacher and administrative rights. So teachers and administrators, anyone who works in the school, you absolutely have the First Amendment right to believe in any religion that you wish. And when off duty, school employees are free to engage in worship and any lawful faith-based activity. However, when they're acting as representatives of a public school system, courts have said that their rights are constrained by the Establishment Clause. So as an employee of the government, we cannot indoctrinate or push worship of a religion onto our students or onto colleagues. In addition, the student court has repeatedly held that the First Amendment requires public school officials to show neither favoritism toward nor hostility against religious expression such as prayer. So again, we can teach about the Bible. We can do, we can discuss the Bible. We can do things like that. We can answer a question like, did you go to church this weekend? That's fine. But in terms of going toward, showing favoritism and pushing my religion on a student, or saying bad things or showing hostility towards another student's religion, that's where it becomes unconstitutional, according to the Establishment Clause. So for this assignment, the CLO correlation, in this situation, my goal was to really review Supreme Court cases and educate rather than try to persuade the Board of Education or the superintendent based off of the situation. And I tried to do this by describing the laws according to the Supreme Court cases. I thought in doing that, avoided bias and provided the most straightforward answers to questions about religions in schools. And I think it also gives background. You can go and look at those Supreme Court cases if they are ever in that situation. In order to ensure consistent adherence to these laws, I would want to inquire with my principal about any issues going on in our building and district. I think this communication would provide checks and balances on religious rulings in our building and district. And it would also, allow me to continue being educated on, certain things that are going on and possible new situations that I wouldn't have thought about. The relevancy. As a current teacher and hopefully a future administrator, this assignment provides relevant information and resources. As an administrator, knowing where to find information on laws dealing with religion in schools is important when an issue arises. So having the Pew Research information, having the U.S. Department of Education, as well as learning more about these Supreme Court cases, I feel like I am much more prepared now than I was before this assignment. Knowing those, I now feel like I have the accurate information and can make the best decision for the school and the student or teacher involved. As a teacher right now, it's important to know what I can share with my students about my religion, or any religion for that matter. And it also benefits students, I think, when teachers know the religious rights of students in the school setting. You may have a student come to you with a question or say, hey, can I wear this? Can we sponsor a see you at the poll or any situation, an FCA event? And I think it's important for the teacher to know these rules and be able to, not only give their advice, but also say, hey, this might be something that you should go talk to the principal about. The reflection. This assignment will influence my decisions as a future school leader by providing me with resources and opening my eyes to possible issues that may arise. I now have 2 reliable resources that can provide me with information, including the Supreme Court cases on multiple religious issues in schools. This assignment has also given me the knowledge to recognize what is allowed under the Constitution, and this awareness will allow me to recognize problems before they become widespread, before they become public knowledge, so that they can be dealt with. And by using those resources gathered and knowing my school policies, I'll be able to make an informed decision. Here are my resources. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'd love to send you the presentation or send you any of my resources here as well. Thanks.